Howdy folks, and welcome back once again to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. It's been a while. Well, it hasn't been that long. Yes, it's the USS Des Moines again. Spicy toast in the USS Des Moines. US Navy Tier 10 heavy cruiser. Quick recap about the Des Moines for those of you who have been living under a rock and haven't watched one of my World of Warships videos in a month. The Des Moines is a heavy cruiser, but the heavy part refers to her armament, not her armour. The Des Moines' armour is actually kind of squishy. The weapons, however, these are 8-inch guns. She has 9 of them. 6 up front in 2 turrets, 3 to the rear in a single turret. What's so special about that, Jingles? Well, by itself, not an awful lot. In fact, in certain regards, you could argue that the Des Moines is undergunned for a Tier 10 heavy cruiser. The Zhao, for example, also has 8-inch guns, but it's got 3 more of them, 12 in total. The difference here, of course, is the reload. Whereas it takes more than 13 seconds for the Zhao to reload all 12 of her 8-inch guns, it takes 5.5 seconds for the Des Moines to reload hers. The Des Moines is an autoloader. And of course, 5.5 seconds is just the base reload. You can get it even lower through a combination of captain skills and equipment fits. I don't know what the theoretical maximum rate of fire is for a Des Moines on a captain with the adrenaline rush skill and a Des Moines that's lost almost all of its health. I'm sure somebody could work it out. But in practical terms, when the Des Moines captain has the adrenaline rush skill, when the Des Moines lost a seriously large chunk of health, once that adrenaline rush buff kicks in, I have seen Des Moines, and you are about to see a Des Moines, reloading these 8-inch guns in less than 3.5 seconds. And yes, there are high-tier destroyers with 5-inch guns that don't fire as quickly as that. The price you pay for this ridiculous amount of damage per minute, or potential damage per minute, is that the ship is really kind of squishy. Her bows can be completely overmatched by 16-inch guns firing armor-piercing shells, which basically means just about every battleship this ship is going to face, with the exception of the French and German Tier 8s. Oh, and also the British Tier 8, the Monarch, because that only has 15-inch guns as well, are going to be able to blast right through your bow plating as if it wasn't even there, and potentially citadel you from the front. Also, the overall armour is also kind of weak, which means that the ship is very, very squishy when people are firing high explosive shells at you, particularly 8-inch high explosive shells, from any angle. Here we see Spicy Toast doing a big fat nope after getting spotted and turning away from the enemy Republique and Yamato. And then turning back in again, because that daring is just too juicy a target to resist. And here you can see the reload since he's got all 9 of his guns firing. And it is 4 seconds. He's already managed to get 1.5 seconds off the base reload. And that's really before the adrenaline rush skill kicks in. And that left that daring with absolutely no chance whatsoever. The daring did at least go down swinging. He took out the Z-52, and there are torpedoes in the water ahead. If those are from the Minotaur, they should run out before they reach Spicy Toast. But hey, let's not take any chances. Yes, no. Those are actually the Minotaur's torpedoes. The first set of the Minotaur's torpedoes. The torpedoes that you can see coming in from the flank up ahead are from the enemy gearing. The enemy gearing has just been sunk by the Shimakaze, and he's about to be joined by the enemy Grozavoy, leaving just one destroyer, a Shimakaze, on the enemy team. Those are the second sets of torpedoes from the Minotaur. He popped out, put his fish in the water from one side, 8 torpedoes per side and 2 launchers, turned around and did it again. He got a couple of hits from the second set of torpedoes, but the lion's share of the damage was done there from the torpedoes coming in from the flank from over in that direction where the enemy gearing was sunk. And he was able to get so many hits because the first set of torpedoes launched by the Minotaur were forcing the Henri and the Zhao to sail in a straight line. And the Henri in particular has really suffered for that. He's already been sunk. The Zhao is making that island his waifu and desperately trying to hide from all of those enemy ships down to the south. Spicy Toast is actually heading into a very, very nice spot here. He's managed to assist in the capture, so that's good. But this island and the sandbar next to it, if the gearing had still been alive, this would be a perfect spot for him, because he'd be 100% immune to getting torpedoed from the flank. Anybody on his starboard side wouldn't be able to torpedo him and would have to shoot and risk giving their position away. And the island should provide some protection at least from those ships to the south. It's just a question of how close he can get to the island and still be able to lob shots over it. Although if he starts shooting now, he's almost certainly going to get spotted by the Republique. And there is somebody out there with radio position finding very, very close. And he's been radared. Alright, well, no sense in being subtle anymore. The team are doing really well at this point. I mean, they've sunk 4 enemies, they've only lost 2 of their own. They've got 1 cap. In fact, they're about to take their 2nd cap, and the enemy team only hold 1. In fact, they also have a USS Salem and a Shimakaze who are in an excellent position to threaten capture point B. They've got a whole bunch of enemy ships just kind of milling around aimlessly, giving perfect broadsides to shoot at. And at the minute, providing nothing goes drastically wrong, this team is going to win in just over 8 minutes. And if they manage to take capture point B, and it looks like they are, that's going to drop down to just over 5 minutes. What could possibly go wrong? Never underestimate the ability of your team to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I don't know what it is about a certain mindset of World of Warships players. Just winning isn't good enough. Rather than simply sit on their advantage, continue to farm a little bit more damage, and take advantage of the vulnerability of the enemy ships as they try to take from you what you already hold, it's as if some people just aren't happy unless they win harder. The team is about to win. Well, that's just not good enough, is it? No, we're all going to start pushing forward into crossfires in order to win just that little bit harder. Things are, however, going to get a little bit better before they get any worse. But you can still kind of see where it's all going to start to go horribly wrong. If you have a look down to the southeast, there's a Yamato and a North Carolina. Not content with winning, they're pushing further south. Now that's not in and of itself a terrible idea, because if they can get further to the south, they're going to have all of these enemy ships in a crossfire. But there is a Zhao down there, and Zhaos love nothing more than kiting big dumb stupid battleships, popping out of concealment and raining down a barrage of 8-inch high explosive shells on them, and then kiting away and going undetected again. Not only the Zhao, while the enemy team only have 1 remaining destroyer, it is a Shimakaze, and he was last spotted down in that direction as well. In his defence, the Yamato isn't completely oblivious to the threat. He does have his spotter plane up, and he did get lucky there because the spotter plane did spot the enemy Shimakaze. But that probably means he already has torpedoes in the water. And you can instantly see, it's actually quite comical, the reaction from the North Carolina down there with the Yamato. The second the Shimakaze got spotted, he went, nope, and he's turning around and sailing back north. And I'm pretty sure the Yamato hasn't realised that he's now advancing south 100% on his own. Meanwhile, if I could drag your eyes away from the minimap for a second, Spicy Toast has been having a bit of a mixed game here. I mean, he's been farming a little more damage, but he's been taking a little bit more damage as well. He's actually playing this quite smart. He's not willing to risk taking a ton of damage in return for doing a little bit more. He's staying nice and tight close to that island. And again, things still appear to be going very well for the team. They're still in control of 3 of the caps. Their Zhao has just managed to kill an enemy Yamato with his secondaries. At this point, they're going to win in just under 3 minutes. Spicy Toast is doing steady damage to that enemy Des Moines down there. Although the friendly Shimakaze is about to bite off slightly more than he can chew, he's almost certainly just been radared and he just got detonated. So that's bought the enemy team a little bit more time, but they're still going to lose in just under 3 minutes if they don't pull something out of the bag. And that Des Moines does not look like he's going to last an awful lot longer. I mean, he's switching fire to Spicy Toast now, and he's on such low health that the rate of fire from his guns is phenomenal. But Yeah, there's no way he's going to survive. This may in fact be Spicy Toast's second kill. And let's see what happens to that armor-piercing salvo. Yeah, he's got him. Right, at this point, as long as nobody on Spicy Toast's team does anything stupid, all they have to do is stay alive for another 2 minutes, and they've won this game. They've got 3 caps to the enemy's none, they've got a 3-kill advantage, and a 500-point lead. The surviving ships on the enemy team are split into 2 separate groups, way too far away from each other on both sides of the map to mutually support each other, and completely unable to bring any kind of overwhelming firepower to bear. And this is where the players in command of the ships on the winning team succumb to the red mist. They just have to farm that little bit more damage. And that's fine, but you don't need to take risks in order to do it. The Yamato has just sailed into a brace of torpedoes fired by the Shimakaze, but the team are still going to win in 2 minutes, until the Shimakaze, with the Yamato out of the way, is now free to slip into the capture point at Charlie and starts flipping it, so Spicy Toast's team no longer have as many points coming in. Well, that's okay. Let's use our overwhelming firepower advantage to sink more ships. We'll make up the points that way. And Spicy Toast is about to do just that. He's just caught this Minotaur in a really, really bad spot, although he's almost certainly launched torpedoes. But there's no way a Minotaur is surviving an 8-inch armor-piercing salvo from a Des Moines at that kind of range. Spicy Toast executing a turn to port to keep that island between him and any torpedoes that the Minotaur may have launched. No, it looks like the torpedoes are heading in the direction of the Grosse Kurfürst, and oh dear, what just happened? Well, the Salem over there to starboard was farming damage on that Republique, but sitting broadside onto him in order to do so, so he got himself deleted. The Khabarovsk down to the south was attempting to kill the enemy Shimakaze and ran into his torpedoes. But it's still very, very winnable. I mean, they still have 2 of the 3 caps. They're still going to win in just over 2 minutes. But not if that Republique sinks the Grosse Kurfürst, who looks as if he caught a couple of the Minotaur's torpedoes. And they've just lost another ship. The Zhao has gone down. So, in the space of around about 3 minutes, this winning team has gone from being 3 kills up to being 1 kill down. And that Grosse Kurfürst up there is in no rush whatsoever to give himself up to that Republique and make it 2 kills down. And Spicy Toast is doing his level best to help. But whereas the Des Moines bow plating is sufficient to tank the 15-inch shells of the French Tier 8 battleships, it is by no means tough enough to tank the 17-inch shells fired by the French Tier 10 battleship. And the only thing that's going to save him now is the fact that the Republique has realised he's going to die, and he's actually doing the smart thing. He's going for the Grosse Kurfürst instead, because that's a battleship. Spicy Toast is in a cruiser. The battleship is worth more points. So even if the Republique dies, and he pretty much knows he is going to die, he's going to get the Grosse Kurfürst, and it's going to result in a net neutral points difference. So that was actually quite a smart move from the Republique. With the destruction of the Republique, Spicy Toast is now all on his Jack Jones over at this end of the map, completely unable to support the Shimakaze and the North Carolina. But that might actually be a good thing, because it means he's not tempted to open up on those enemy ships, give his position away, and get himself sunk. Not something that can be said for the friendly Shimakaze, who just lost a gun battle to the enemy Shimakaze over in the direction of Capture Point Bravo. It does have to be said that enemy Shimakaze has been having a very, very good game. Meanwhile, the surviving friendly North Carolina, Spicy Toast's only surviving teammate at this point, that poor bugger doesn't know whether to shit or go blind. It doesn't matter where he goes. His teammates are dying all around him. And he's probably not going to survive yet. In fact, he's dead too. Spicy Toast is now the last ship left alive on his team. And the enemy are capping Bravo. This would probably be a very, very good time to just take the win and stop trying to win just that little bit harder. The question is, what's the best way of doing that? Spicy Toast's plan right now is to head straight through that gap up ahead, continue heading north, stay undetected, and then just cruise around the map border, heading roughly in the northeastern end of the map. And it's a good plan, but it's not going to work. Because he's just been spotted by the enemy Zhao. And he's given a perfect broadside. If the Zhao had armor piercing loaded, this could have been game over right here, but he didn't. So Spicy Toast is still in with a chance. Unfortunately, Spicy Toast had armor piercing loaded rather than high explosive, and the Zhao is angled pretty well. But, well, if you hit the Zhao superstructure, even the armor piercing will do a fair amount of damage. He has switched over to the high explosive now, of course, and he's managed to set a fire. The Zhao continuing to fire the high explosive, and the Zhao's high explosive is nothing to be taken lightly. Remember, the Des Moines is not a particularly heavily armoured ship, and even 8-inch high explosive shells will do a lot of damage to you. But he can do a lot more damage to the Zhao much, much faster, because the reload on his guns, right now, with the amount of damage that he's taken, is down to around about 3.5 seconds. The Zhao is definitely launching torpedoes. He's realised that he's not going to get away with this. There's the armour piercing. There's the Kraken Unleashed. But there will be torpedoes coming. Which means that any hope of an exit to the north... Oh, shit. Oh, crap. He has to keep sailing in this direction to try to thread the needle between the torpedoes. And there's another enemy... Oh, shit, there's the Shimakaze. Oh, this is not good. Okay, he's used his heel. He's just triggered his radar. Now, he's not actually attacking the Shimakaze, but the radar is probably putting the fear of God into him. He's focusing down the Hindenburg because he's got the armor piercing loaded, the Hindenburg's giving him broadside. He is on low health, he is on fire, but hang on a second, is the Hindenburg firing armor piercing? Okay, so the Hindenburg was given broadside and firing armor piercing at a bow tanking tier 10 cruiser, therefore doing minimal damage and basically just serving himself up on a platter. And also, for some bizarre reason, not launching his torpedoes against an enemy cruiser who was forced to sail into torpedo range. So, not really sure what that Hindenburg was thinking, if indeed he was thinking at all. Spicy Toast just extinguished a single fire. A single fire set by the Shimakaze, who's risking life and limb and giving his position away by firing at him. But that's actually two very smart moves. The Shimakaze desperately has to set a fire in order to continue spotting Spicy Toast, because when a ship's burning, its surface detection range is increased. Equally, Spicy Toast knows he has to keep making Billy Big steps in this direction to get away from the torpedoes that the Shimakaze has certainly fired at him, and he has to stay undetected. So even though the temptation was there to shoot at and possibly kill the Shimakaze, which would have won the match, shooting at the Shimakaze would give his position away, and there's not just a Shimakaze still surviving on the enemy team, there's a Monarch as well, and he's in open water, and the Monarch would be able to shoot him. And that's when the Shimakaze does another smart thing. He slips into the capture circle at Alpha, which arrests Spicy Toast points total at 991, which means he now has to kill something to win. Except he doesn't. See, that's why he was turning back in. He was trying to find and kill the Monarch. But that would be incredibly dangerous, because he is almost certainly a one-shot kill for the Monarch, and he has no idea how much health the Monarch has. But he still has 991 points. The enemy team are never going to make up the difference in the just over 1 minute that this match has left to run. And Spicy Toast has just realised that all he has to do is stay alive for the next minute, and he's going to win this game. And with the Shimakaze occupied in capturing Alpha, which was a good idea because it very nearly provoked Spicy Toast into turning around and finding something to kill, he should be far enough away that even the Shimakaze isn't going to be able to catch him. Spicy Toast could try to win a bit harder than he currently is. He could turn around and go looking for something else to sink. But the risks far outweigh the benefits. Especially when you're going to win anyway if you just don't do anything. A lesson which Spicy Toast in the USS Des Moines, with 167,000 damage done, nearly 2 million damage tanked in a cruiser, 5 kills, the Kraken Unleashed award, and the Confederate award, has learned well, and a lesson that a lot more players could stand to learn too. Spicy Toast, thank you for sending this one in. Extremely well played, sir. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you maybe learned something from it too. Because that's it for today. As always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.